in June when a deranged white gunman shot up a storied church in Charleston, in this South Carolina, killing 9 black people because they were black. A reader of mine posted that it never happened, that it was only a hoax perpetrated by liberals. And yeah, I am aware that he is virtually alone in that opinion, and that most healthy minds, black, white, and otherwise, know that the Charleston shooting was no hoax. But I mentioned that only to drive home how critical it is to some of us, the desperate lengths to which they will go to preserve that thing they cherish most where race and racism are concerned, meaning, of course, innocence. We live in a country where African American unemployment is usually double that of the nation as a whole. A country where, according to multiple studies, African Americans receive less aggressive health care from doctors than whites do, even when they have the same insurance and the same income. A country where African Americans account for about 15% of drug crime, yet in some jurisdictions represent as much as 90% of those incarcerated for drug crime. A country where the mass incarceration of African American men and the subsequent abridgment of their civil rights after they have served their time has devastated families, decimated communities, and stolen away voting rights. A nation where discrimination in banking robs African Americans of the ability to start businesses, send their children to school, or simply live where they want to live. And yet, a nation where we too often agree to pretend that we don't know how those kinds of things happen, that they just are. A nation where you may try to put a name on that which is pushing you down, only to be told that those things are really nobody's fault, nobody's responsibility, that they are forces of nature, like the tides and the seasons, the random verdicts of impartial fate, beyond our power to cause or effect. Or again, as Ta-Nehisi Coates puts it, the earthquake cannot be subpoenaed. The typhoon will not bend under indictment. And as James Baldwin reminds us, it is this innocence that constitutes the crime. This idea you are asked to accept that, well, bad things just happen. And if it seems to you that they always happen to you, well, that's just your paranoia. Or it's just random bad luck. Or it's evidence of your unluckiness, or it's proof of your own unworthiness, or your shortcomings, or your failure to anticipate and prepare. It's your fault. You should have done better. Rodney King, he should have just stopped crawling around on the ground. Trayvon Martin, he should never have worn that hooded sweatshirt in the rain. President Obama should have just released his long-form birth certificate. Because it never is what it actually is. Always it is something else, something other.